Yo, what's going on YouTube? My name is Nullified and welcome back to the Team Ovail channel. Today we're going to be talking about the decade-old debate between which is better, Battlefield or Call of Duty. And to be honest, it's a pretty simple answer. But before we get into the video, I just want to say, use code Ovail in the shop whenever you go get some advanced GG energy, because low-key, their powder's fire. I mean, they got great flavors. Their energy's insane. You stay focused and you stay energized throughout the whole day. You know, no crashes, no nothing. I used to run coffee all the time. Dude, advanced changed my life, low-key. But also, like, you know, we're kind of a little sponsored by them. So if you help us out, that'll be dope. All right. Anyways, back to the video. All right. So, really simple answer to this debate, and that answer is you can't compare the two. All right. Now let me explain. Before y'all start throwing fucking tomatoes at me and saying that I'm dumb as shit. All right. There's gonna be 4 different areas where we're gonna cover, and that'll tell you why we can't compare Call of Duty to Battlefield, because it just doesn't make sense. All right. First, we'll go over game concept. Second, we'll move over to gunplay. Third will be movement, and finally, we'll talk about customization between both Call of Duty and Battlefield. So first, starting with the game concept. All right, the game concept of Battlefield is all-out war. All right, it's definitely more arcadey than other mil sims, you know, like say like Tarkov, which is more of an attraction shooter anyways, but or like Arma 4, but it still kind of provides that war simulation, all-out battle with tanks, jets, or fucking other shit like that. I don't know why I said tanks twice, but you know, it provides more of that warlike gameplay that you don't really see in Call of Duty. Whereas in Call of Duty is straight up an arcade shooter. Now, not to say that there isn't some tactical gameplay with it, all right? Just because it's arcade doesn't mean it can't have some tactical shit with it, especially with more of the higher tier gameplay with competitive teams like in esports. All right, hardpoint's pretty aggressive. S&D requires some form of strategy in order to win rounds. But overall, Call of Duty is just an arcade shooter, which is vastly different from Battlefield. Now, I know that Call of Duty and Battlefield like to dabble in both of their own spaces. Like with Call of Duty, there's that new mode that's come out for Black Ops 7 that basically looks like Battlefield. And then also Battlefield, you're seeing a lot of people making experiences, like 24/7 shipment and stuff like that. But overall, they're 2 different games in terms of concept. So we really can't define or debate which one's better because they're 2 different. We're like comparing apples to oranges, and that'll be a frequent thing that we talk about throughout this video. All right, now moving on to the gunplay. Gunplay in Call of Duty feels smooth. I mean, both are smooth, but you know, it feels more accessible, I guess. It's a little bit easier to aim. You know, you're kind of a laser with everything, and it's what an arcade shooter should be. It's point, shoot, done. All right, very similar to any like DPS player in fucking Overwatch, except for like Hanzo, and some others. But that was a horrible comparison. But Call of Duty has always been super easy to shoot. Doesn't matter if you're moving, doesn't matter if you're crouching, doesn't matter anything. You will always hit your shots as long as your aim is on the target. Now let's look at Battlefield. Battlefield is very much different from Call of Duty in that regard. All right, with Battlefield, there's a thing called bloom. All right, bloom is variances in where your shots actually go based on where your aimer is. So I could be looking 200 meters away with my assault rifle, and I could be aiming, and I could be technically hitting the target based on my reticle and where I'm aiming. But bloom causes variances in where the actual bullets go, so I may not actually hit the target all the time. This is not like Call of Duty. Battlefield is very much has that realistic nature of a gun where not all bullets are going to go the same way all the time. It's not going to be a laser. I know that there are some issues currently with Battlefield 6 regarding that, like SMGs having crazy shots with little to no bloom, but that's besides the point. The core concept of Battlefield is to provide a more realistic gunplay experience that COD really more aims to not do. They're an arcade shooter. They don't need to have bloom. They just need to have quote unquote precise gunplay to the point where your shots always hit as long as you're hitting the target. All right, so that's why you can't really compare Battlefield to COD in that way. All right, now let's move to movement. movement in Call of Duty is very fast. Everybody knows it. It's a staple of Call of Duty. It's been there since, I want to say Black Ops 3 was really when it started popping off. Advanced Warfare kind of pulled into it, and then BO3 went crazy with it, obviously with G-sliding and stuff like that. But ever since that happened, COD has been a very fast-moving game, and it's gonna stay a fast-moving game because, again, it's an arcade shooter, and people love to go fast. They love to show their fucking cool-ass clips where they get to fly around other people and then shoot them or do some kind of finisher. You know what I'm saying? So you're a lot faster in that game. It's a lot more fluid. And not to say that Battlefield isn't fluid, because like I said, there's no comparison here. But for an arcade shooter, you are fast. All right, and then in Battlefield even said in the beta, y'all were running too fast. We need to nerf this. So they nerfed movement, and now jumping has been nerfed. You can't jump as much and as high for as long. Your sliding is not as good either. You know, it's definitely not a dead slide, but you're not sliding like you can't slide cancel really like you can in Call of Duty. Your movement has become slower. They definitely said you were slower. Obviously, there are different classes that give less penalties to different individuals based on the guns that they use, like support. Support doesn't have any movement penalties when using LMGs, but they're still slow. All right, they're showing that you are humans and that you're carrying a bunch of gear and you are maintaining a decent speed, but you're not going crazy like you are in COD. All right, so you can't really compare the two there either, because one is focusing more on the arcade shooter, fast moving type mess, and then there's Battlefield where you are focusing on realism and a man who is carrying 300 pounds worth of gear while trying to move around the map and kill things and take objectives. All right. Lastly, customization. Now, obviously, customization has been a very big issue with Call of Duty recently, especially with everybody saying that the cartoonish skins were just stupid and shouldn't have been in the game. They want the more realistic skins. They weren't a fan of seeing roller coasters on guns. But besides all that, let's look at customization from COD's perspective, even back to BO3 standards. All right, BO3 had very fun and wonky customizations for your character, you know, based on all the operators. All right, same thing for guns. We have the mastery skins, right? Dark matter. Dark matter is insane. It looks like dark matter inside a gun. That's not realistic. That's arcadey, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Honestly, everybody should be fine with that. It's a beautiful skin. It's really good, and it fits the arcade genre. But Battlefield is very different. Now, obviously, you have like your sand, snow, and stuff like that. And then you have your mastery camo at rank 50 for Battlefield 6, where it kind of looks like a copper gold-ish kind of thing, but it's not arcadey. It looks like a real camo that you would put onto a rifle. Now, I know that there has been some showing of a Razor skin or operator skin that kind of has some green on it, but honestly, that still looks like a regular skin to me. That's not anything like COD has ever developed. So clearly there's a vast difference between the customization and the path in which Battlefield is going and where COD is going. And that's why you can't really compare the two. And that's just it. You know, we looked at all four of these areas. All four of these areas show that COD cannot be compared to Battlefield. Battlefield cannot be compared to COD. They both go in different directions, so you can't make the argument. Now, if you want to say you want to put like Battlefield against Delta Force, that would make sense because they're both war-esque games. Obviously, Delta Force is more on the arcade side still, even more so than Battlefield, but it's still it's a better argument to make or better debate to have than COD versus Battlefield. Same thing for Call of Duty. If you want to take like Call of Duty versus the recently and sadly discontinued X-Defiant, that would make more sense. They're both arcade 5v5 or 6v6 based map or based games that focus on movement and overall ability. All right. So that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Apologies, I'm dying over here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, use code Ovail at the advanced.gg shop whenever you get some energy powder, because honestly, like I said, it's fire. Thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.